started volunteering, and then I started working there when I became of age from that point. But I've just always been involved with youth development.
Cameron, tell us what you like most about working with the kids.
Every day is something new. There's always a new thing to learn from them, as there's something new for them to learn from me. Having that experience with them is just a reward in itself.
And what would you like to do in the future?
I'd like to possibly step into a director role, be in charge of the different things that go on, and ensure that at least I know that my building is doing the best that they can for the children.
Cameron Hamilton at the Learning Zone is the Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering on Spring Street. Know an outstanding teacher? Nominate them at our website.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning, Bill Krause on a Thursday morning edition of the WGNS Radio Roundtable. We're very, very fortunate, pleased, delighted, and full of anticipation with a short visit, but a wonderful visit with our U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, who is also planning to run for governor of the state of Tennessee. Good morning, Marsha. Hello. Good morning, Marsha.
Yes, good morning. I'm delighted to join you. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go right to the line of the show, and let's talk about the governorship of the state of Tennessee 2026.
Sure. Yes, and I am delighted to talk about that because we are so excited about the opportunities that exist for Tennessee. You know, President Donald Trump is sending power and authority back to the states every single day. You can look at the big, beautiful bill and the way they are closing down the U.S. Department of Education. Healthcare is going back to the states. Energy is going back to the states. Benefits, regulations, permitting, the list goes on and on. So what an exciting time for our state that has been a well-led, well-governed state, and we have that firm foundation on which we can build. And I feel like it is our opportunity to truly be our nation's conservative leader and to show other people how to build a conservative state. And we should be the state everybody wants to emulate.
It also seems to be the state that many people want to travel to and visit and move. Traffic, I'm sure, is one of the number one categories of discussion. And I was even late this morning just because of traffic. As governor, is that the first step you would take, is suddenly have a magic wand to solve the traffic issue?
Well, we would all like to solve that issue. And, you know, when we talk about infrastructure, we've got to look at roads and that surface transportation, at rail, at our rivers, at our runways, and say, how do we make certain we've got the infrastructure that is going to be necessary to meet the growth? And the growth that we are seeing and the growth we anticipate seeing is going to continue. And Bill, I don't know all the answers. I don't think anyone has all the answers of how we go about expanding roads and rail and rivers and runways and broadband. But what we do know is we've got to do some things differently. We have to go in and say, let's look at projects like the Boring Company project that they're doing from the Nashville airport to downtown, and begin to say, how do we manage this? How do we move traffic? And I was talking with a university president last week who was letting me know about some of the research that they have done dealing with transportation and traffic issues and latency and synchronization And those are the things that are going to lead us to the best, most efficient, most cost-effective solutions to deal with the issues of transportation and infrastructure.
You know, one of the major problems that most people do not realize is the fact that the gas tax, which was created both for the federal level and the state level to fund construction and maintenance of highways and transportation systems, but the gas tax was initially created when we were getting 7, 8, 9 miles per gallon. And now there are many more cars on the road, but they're all getting 30, 35, 40 miles per mile per gallon, producing less per gallon, less per mile gas tax revenue. So there's a shortfall, it would appear, on the amount of income coming in on the gasoline tax and the need and ability to build and maintain highways.
And you're right about that. And some of the state legislators and I have talked about that issue and saying, how do we look at this and solve this issue of that lower amount coming in, and add to that you're discussing the hybrids and the electric vehicles, which also are on the road,
yes,
but are paying even less of that tax. And one of the legislators had a great suggestion on this, and it's worthy of discussion. What happens if we keep that gas tax in the state and only send to the federal a small portion, rather than sending it all to the state, all to the federal government, and having them send us some back?
And with a carrying charge.
That's right. It always comes with a carrying charge, and you don't get it until a year or a year and a half later. And I look forward to exploring some of those options with those legislators.
Many people may not remember, especially people who've moved to Tennessee in recent years, but give a quick review of your background in terms of serving the people of Tennessee, not only as our U.S. Senator, not only as our Congresswoman, but before that time.
Well, indeed. And I had the opportunity during Governor Sundquist's administration to re-engineer what was a film office into film, entertainment, music, focusing on interactive technologies, and then into the state Senate, where I served there and had the opportunity to work with thousands of Tennesseans, and we led the opposition to a state income tax. And leading that group, defeating that state income tax proposal, really forced Tennessee to reset and say, okay, we're not going to have a state income tax. How do we be more efficient and effective? And we became an economic powerhouse in our country. I served in the U.S. House and represented the 7th Congressional District, and then in 2018 was elected to the U.S. Senate, where I am serving now. And the good thing there is that Tennesseans know I have a history of understanding our state. I am in each of our 95 counties each year, visiting with Tennesseans and local elected officials and talking about what those counties need. And because of this, I have a history of delivering what the state needs for the people of our state.
One of the beauties of Marsha Blackburn, and I don't want to be throwing too many roses onto the flower pot, but I can. It could spend a lot of time on this. But you bring people together. If we ever need political leaders, not only at the national, but the state and even local levels, of bringing community together, bringing people that they have a single purpose. It may be different approaches to those purposes, but they have a single purpose. Talk about your focus on bringing the 7 to 8 million people of Tennessee together.
Yes, indeed. And I use the word team as an acronym. Together, everyone achieves more. And I fully believe that. That goes back to when I was in 4-H club.
Wow.
And we would our 4-H leader, which happened to be my mom, would say whether we are a horticulture judging team or whether we are working together on records, together everyone achieves more. And raising up other leaders, mentoring individuals, working alongside other people to make certain that you are focused on achieving a goal. And I think as Tennesseans, we can absolutely come together and we can say, how do we make certain our state is the very best place in the United States of America to live, to work, to rear your family, to educate your children, to have those kids come back home to great jobs there in their community so that you've got that knitting of that family and that community. And working together as a team, we can do this. You know, people, as I'm listening to people across the state, they talk about wanting to have the best quality of life that you can possibly have. They want to be striving for educational excellence and having more opportunities and choices for how to educate their children. They want their communities to be crime-free and to be safe. They want our universities to be hubs of innovation and entrepreneurship. They want to make certain that we are protecting our children. And Bill, as you know, I've worked diligently in Congress to make certain that we protect our children not only in the physical space, but in the virtual space.
Right. Comment, and I know we've got a couple moments left. Any new word, any new whisper, any new rumor on the reopening of the government?
The Democrats have had 14 times that they could come to the floor and that they could vote to reopen the government. And now they're saying, well, maybe we'll vote for SNAP benefits. And I'm saying, you have voted against this.
Yes.
So what makes us now think that you're going to change your mind and all of a sudden you're going to vote to continue SNAP benefits? What about paying our military? What about paying our federal law enforcement and our FAA? What about paying federal employees that are working? All of our offices across the state are open. They are working. We are solving problems for Tennesseans every single day. But what we have to do is keep our focus on the fact that the bill before us is a clean CR. It came out of the House with bipartisan support. These are the Joe Biden budget numbers. The Democrats have voted for these numbers 5 different times. 5 times.
5 times,
And now because they don't like Donald Trump, because they want to take another giant step in making Obamacare the single-payer, government-run health care system in this country. Now, all of a sudden, they're not going to vote for anything, and they're going to let SNAP expire. And now that they're getting caught on this, they're saying, well, maybe we'll vote for that if we only vote for SNAP for November 1st. See, they're not wanting to continue it. They just want to vote for it for right now, which that is so disrespectful of the 695,000 Tennessee families that are on SNAP. We need to reopen the government. We need the Democrats to come back to the table. We need them to get to work. We need them to focus on our appropriations bills that are before us so that we have a solid budget. You know, a lot of the work that we do via the Department of War and up at Fort Campbell and out at Arnold Engineering and over at Oak Ridge, that funding comes through these federal appropriations. And we want to make certain that those projects continue. They are important, vitally important to our state.
It would be interesting for emergency legislation for Congress, Senate to ask any creditor to give a pause on a federal employee on a credit card bill or what have you, somewhat a 30-day pause that at least the credit is not roaring down on the person who, by no fault of their own, is not getting a paycheck.
And we have been really quite frustrated, as I was listing off individuals that are working without pay. Think about TSA.
Yes.
And they're not getting paid. And you look at TSA and FAA, and they're the ones that are keeping the airports going. And, these are individuals that are working without pay. They don't have those paychecks. And as you're talking about, life goes on. The mortgage, the car payment, the credit card bill, all of that has to be paid. And all of these federal employees are working without a paycheck. And we know that many of our churches are working with the food banks. My team and I've talked with so many of them this week, and they're doing food drives this weekend to make certain that the food banks are full, because you're going to have federal employees that are going to be going to get food to help feed their families. I was talking with a member of a city council out of another part of the state this week, and there was someone that came to their city council meeting on Monday, and they were so concerned. This was a single mother with 4 children who worked at a factory in the community, and of course they are working, and we're very concerned about SNAP benefits, and we're saying, what can the city do to help people like me who are working, but I have 4 children, and that $400 a month to feed children makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And I know you've got to go, but my one concern is, for example, public utilities. I would hope that heating bills are kind of put in limbo for the federal employee, because we're getting pretty cold. Winter is coming to Middle Tennessee, and we're starting to feel, I think this morning, temperature was 40 degrees when I drove out of the garage.
Yes.
We don't want people to get cold.
Yeah, my husband this morning, the first thing he said to me was, "It is cold."
Yes, absolutely.
He said, winter has arrived, but hopefully the rain is out of the way for the weekend, and hopeful that all the children in neighborhoods will have a very safe, be a brisk trick-or-treat, but we're hopeful that it is a safe trick-or-treat.
I know you have to go to the Senate Judicial Committee meeting right now. I want to thank you for always taking the time. And let me just make this comment. You have always surrounded yourself with a team, staff at any level of office that you've held. And the response to the individual, responding to calls, responding to emails, is second to none. I would probably say, if anything else, at the governor's mansion, you will get an answer and a response within a immediate short period of time.
Well, we think that it is vitally important to provide that service. Being an elected representative, I've said, and I think you and I've actually talked about this in the past, any elected representative should have public servant on their card, because they are there to serve. And Bill, this is one of the reasons I say Tennessee does not need a manager. What Tennessee needs is a leader.
Correct.
And a leader who is going to build that team, who is going to get the state on the right path, so that we are the nation's conservative leader, and we show how government should be, can be, will be responsive to the people of our state.
And you won't mind me reaching back to your wonderful staff and having you back right after the first of the year for an updated status on Marsha Blackburn.
I would be delighted. Always a pleasure to join you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and may the government open sooner than later.
You got it. Take
Bye
care.
now.
Bye.
This message brought to you by the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. Visit recyclerightTN.com for tips, ideas, and locations on where to recycle near you. That's recyclerightTN.com.
Recycle right, it's all on you. Don't be trashy, recycle classy, recycle right, Tennessee.
Go to recyclerightTN.com.
Recycle right, Tennessee.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit FirstShotTN.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's FirstShotTN.org.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by the law offices of John Day, AmeriCare Pest Control, and Old National Bank.
This is a paid legal ad.
I'm attorney John Day. One of our clients was operating a farm tractor when he was rear-ended by a tractor trailer. In an instant, his life was changed forever. We helped him receive a settlement that has given him financial security for the rest of his life. Now, each case is different, and we can't promise this type of result for every case. But we can promise that when you hire the law offices of John Day, we'll work hard to help you. If you think we can help, call me, John Day.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Don't forget to set your clocks back 1 hour before you go to bed Saturday night. This is the weekend that we fall back in time. And the Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Please give the gift of life. Phone the Red Cross at 800-RED-CROSS and schedule an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. Right now, sign up for the Murfreesboro Christmas Parade, now through Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department. The parade's Sunday, December 14th. This is the week that we wrap up the 50th anniversary celebration of the Rutherford County Farmers Market. But don't worry, because next week brings a whole new chapter, the Fall and Winter Market. Every Friday morning opening at 7, all the way through April. The all-new Fall and Winter Farmers Market starts next Friday morning, November 7th. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
Partial sunshine develops here this afternoon, a high in the upper 50s. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, a low near 39. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center.
Currently, it's 48.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios. Take control of your account management and energy consumption with the MyMTE app. Download from the App Store and manage your account, improve your energy habits, and more. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
This is Bill Krause back again on the WGNS Radio Roundtable on a cool Thursday morning. I had now realized, and I guess I haven't seen much publicity of it, that we do go back on our time this weekend. Thank you for the special announcement, so I'll have to set watches back. Before I go on my commentary, I do want to express my sincere condolences and sympathy to the family of Dr. Pam Harris. Dr. Harris has been a frequent guest on the Roundtable Thursday morning. She was the Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences at Motlow State, a wonderful, wonderful woman. In fact, there was a time she wanted to be on a regular basis co-hosting with us. Just a phenomenal person, and the last year has been fighting health issues. And Monday night, I should say, she did pass away. We may have a special tribute to her forthcoming. We had the opportunity to hear Senator Marsha Blackburn, and I don't know how many of you turn off mentally and ear-wise when we talk or hear about politics. I guess I would have to initially ask the question, if you do follow politics, and it certainly is a civic responsibility of every American to at least be aware, hopefully vote, hopefully get involved, but literally, where do you get your news from? Where do you get your sources from? And I primarily teach American government at several colleges and universities, and my primary purpose is asking the students, where do you get your sources from, and how do you know whether the sources are 100% correct, or is there a bias? And that's very, very controversial. More and more people, younger people, are getting their headline source from social media. And can you make an opinion? Can you make a determination if you just see a headline? And even how the headline is written or verbalized. It may have words in it that are words of bias. We all have bias. I can't sit here and say I am totally objective on the entire political process, even though as a teacher of political science with a number of classes, I have to go in the classroom as unbiased as I can. It's probably one of the things that I really get affected by when I hear of faculty at schools throughout the United States that use the classroom as a bully pulpit to express their ways, their thoughts, their experiences, and more importantly, their philosophy, how government is to be. I think the greatest conflict, I have to say, today's time is there is so many things going on simultaneously. You just watch all the agenda items on the national stage, on President Trump. And, okay, well, we're going to break into having our second guest, Mike Sparks. You all know Mike, I'm hoping. Mike is our state legislator from this area, also a longtime host on WGNS. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Dr. Krause.
How are you? You're on a budget hearing?
Well, we start at 10, and, I do the show with Brian on Thursdays, and I've got some ladies with the landfill. They were some residents in Murfreesboro. They were concerned about the landfill, and I just said, hey, y'all want to go up and fill in for me because we'll have finance here at 10. And but yeah, I was listening to the interview. I was down here in the basement. We've got a fitness center down here at Cordell Hall. And
so you were exercising while the senator was talking.
Was talking. Well,
did you work up a sweat?
Well, I did. It was funny you're asking that because this security person, I come out and she kind of gave me this look, but I'm in a t-shirt with the American flag and exercise pants, and I said, hey, is this door gonna lock on me because I got to get back in? And she goes, well, who are you? I was like, lawmaker. And she goes, why are you sweating? I was like, because I'm in the fitness center. I said, no, I've been robbing a bank. What do you think? And her and I were just cut, and then I seen another guy that works down here in maintenance. He bought a vehicle from me like 10 years ago. He's still driving it, and so we were just cutting up. But she didn't really know me. She's down there in the ground level. But no, I just come up here in my office and we'll start at 10. But I love the interview, man. Marsha was Senator Blackburn. Just man, she was on target. She said all the right things, man, and it really sounded good with her interview just now.
Well, you have always been a bringing people together person. I guess I would probably say one of the most important needs of an elected official, no matter what level of office there are. Yes, you can be great on policy. Yes, you can be very much for education, transportation, environment, planning, criminal justice, etc. All the hot buttons of our political process. But the elected official, and Mike, you are certainly on top of the list, the elected official that truly cares about the men and women within the area district that he or she serves is, in my opinion, the number one point. And one thing about Senator Blackburn, and in tracking her career back in Congress and back in the state legislature, I believe, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school, I think she was in local government initially, city government and so forth. She always had the ability, return calls, return emails, respond to letters, and you're the same way. You're the same way. So how do we stress, and I don't care whether someone's a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, how do we stress the need to be personally and individually responsive to the people we serve?
Well, I think faith is a key, but just because someone's in church or on the front row of Baptist Church of Christ, I mean, I've seen people that don't practice their faith, just to be honest with you. I see a lot of arrogance in politics. I see excessive pride, excessive ego, and you've probably seen it in academia as well.
Absolutely.
I think that's like the old adage, pride come before a fall. And I remember my late mother, who was a strong Christian. You know, I used to get in all those weightlifting contests, and I probably got a little arrogant, you know, and because everywhere I went, I was winning. I was winning best lifter. I was pressing 300 pounds, bench press 300 pounds, 132 pounds weight, and won the state when I was 20. And I remember my mother used to get on to me. She'd say, I said, Mom, I got this contest coming up this weekend, and I said, I feel good. And my mom said, pride come before a fall. Don't count chickens before they're hatched. And I had to humble myself.
Sure.
And you know, and I think that she talked about a servant's heart. And, you know, I wish I could tell you everybody I run across is washing people's feet. No, far from it. I don't see it. I mean, my former assistant, Marvin,
I remember Marvin.
African-American, great young man, knocked on 4,000 doors for me. It was me and a young African-American, and we had big money come against us. Give God the glory for it. You know, we were down. We lost early voting. I think it was, 7, 8 years ago. And my wife was crying. I heard WGNS say Mike Sparks lost early voting, 14 votes. And my phone had went dead. I was driving over to the house and I had a few people show up. You know, it was right at the end of election, 6 years ago, and primary. And my wife was crying. And I was sitting on the recliner. And I just said, well, let's pray. And I just grabbed her hand, and there's a guy there, and we just held hands, and I prayed. I said, Lord, if this is what you want from me, I'm good with this. You know, the Lord's always taking care of me.
Yes.
And all of a sudden we were praying. I mean, she's crying. Okay, she's crying. And I looked up. The TV was on. I looked up, you know, channel 19 or whatever it was, and it had me up 95 votes.
Wow.
Right when I opened my eyes. And so, you know, I know the naysayers, the Debbie Downers, they would say, well, that's just a coincidence. No. That's where faith comes in, because I watched my mother growing up. I mean, she was like Pentecostal in the Catholic Church at St. Rose. I mean, raising her hands on the front row. And I'm so embarrassed as a young man. You know, she wanted me to be an altar boy, and I was like, nah, it wasn't my cup of tea. I was a little on the wild side as a youngster, but drugs, alcohol was never my thing. But my mother, I can remember. She drove an old Pinto.
I remember that.
Would drive.
That's a car that
the worst cars that blow up.
Ford was sued on that for billions, I think, that the people would bump into the back engine and the car would explode.
Yeah, well, my late World War II father didn't like her driving that car. You know, they were divorced, but she'd drive that car, and I'd see the windshield wipers wouldn't work. It'd be pouring out rain, and my mother would start praying in Jesus' name, and all of a sudden the wipers, they start working real fast. And even my nephew come in for her funeral, because if you remember, I was playing Amazing Grace while she was dying.
Right.
And music therapy is the issue I've taken on. And I watched The Power of Music, that hymn, because she was from Scotland, so I played the bagpipes on my iPad. And I sat back and watched like a case study. And she calmed down. Her breathing subsided. Her moans subsided. Next morning she passed.
Wow.
And what was so cool, which is so improbable, but God works in possibilities, not in probabilities. And what was so cool, my first grandbaby came into the world, and my son named the baby Grace.
Oh.
3 days later. And my son had nothing to do with him, I promise you. You know, I got to meet Priscilla Presley last year, and, you know, Elvis's wife, and talked to her a little bit about Graceland and The Power of Music. She said that was Elvis's favorite hymn.
Yes.
But no, going back to what Marcia said, you know, I had the opportunity to meet with the Department of Education yesterday, Commissioner Lisette Reynolds, and I brought up mentorships, my fatherless resolution, and I just said, you know, I'm telling my members up here, Republican Democrats, sometimes I think this falls on deaf ears.
Yes.
The power of a mentor, the absentee of a father, and, you know, we have the highest fatherless rate in the world of any nation, and then we have the highest incarceration rate. There's a direct correlation, but nobody's talking about these things, and I hope Marcia or John Rose, whoever's next governor, or Monty Friss, whoever is, we'll talk about it. But what was so cool when I'm talking to her, and I'm even saying we need more male role models as teachers. We have about 22% are male teachers. When I was growing up, it was around 30, 32, 33%. We had male teachers that were, could kind of act as a mentor, whether it was somebody ROTC or coach.
In elementary school or middle or high school?
Well, even as even elementary school, I remember we had, I think it was Coach Parrish in the 6th grade. We had Coach Young that you didn't get out of line with that dude. He'd bust your tail, and he's still in good shape. I know him from the Gideons, but I brought that up, and I even said we need more black male teachers. That kind of gets everybody's attention when a white Republican mentions we need more black role models, teachers. And but I don't do that because I do that to get to just where they pay attention. But we had a lawmaker during my mentorship proclamation. I had 4 lawmakers come up and speak, 3 Republicans, 1 Democrat. That people that were passionate. You can identify the ones that are passionate.
Yes.
And then you can identify the ones that are just up here, And one brought up Michelle Renault, is her name, out of Chattanooga or Single Mountain. He said, her real father wasn't there she said, I had to look to my heavenly father. And then another lawmaker, Mark White, Chairman of Education, mentions being, I think, in Honduras at a mission trip. And, there's just such brokenness in those areas and a lack of fathers as well. He said there was a little girl come up to him. I guess she was like 10. He says, can I call you Dad? Oh, man.
Wow.
He ended up writing a book about it. Then another lawmaker Chris Hurt talked about a coach at school that inspired him. And then here's what was so powerful, though. See, the media, Dr. Krause, Phil Williams is never going to tell this story. I challenge Phil if he's listening, which he probably ain't. He's never going to talk about the fathers because it doesn't fit his narrative, which is called agenda-setting theory. They do. Some of them do have an agenda, not all of them, but some of them do have an agenda. But here's what Parkinson had to say. Remember, he's a black lawmaker out of Memphis.
Yes.
And me and him we've had our battles back and forth, some rough arguments back and forth, but I know he cares. And he says, when I was a kid, I brought a gun to school. I think he was a senior or junior. He said, I was going to take out 4 guys. He says this on the House floor.
Wow.
He says, I was going, now he didn't use the word kill. He's going to take them out. So
yes.
You got to know what that means. And he said, someone spotted the gun and called. He said, I got arrested, got put in the back patrol car, got arrested. And he said, but if I'd have had a father, I don't think I'd have done that. And this is to me, it's the most powerful testimony up here.
Yes,
now,
unless
it was some other bill,
a father left the gun cabinet unlocked.
Yeah, and I had the bill cutting tax off gun safes, and gun safe sales have went up. Talk about weird connectivity. When Kyle Yorlett was murdered by 2 teenagers, 14, 15-year-olds, I seen it in the news, and for some strange reason, I went to his funeral. And I don't go to people's funeral. I don't know. I just don't do that. I mean, I did go to Fred Thompson's funeral up here, and I didn't really know him. I met him years ago. But I did go to that funeral. But I remember sitting at that funeral. I believe it was over at Belmont, and sitting in the back row, guy was a 23-year-old musician killed by a stolen gun over here in Nashville. And I said to myself, Lord, you got me here for a reason. There's a reason I'm at this funeral. And it was about a month later, I got Senator Kyle, the Democrat, her assistant, come over to me. She said, Mike, will you run this bill? Remember, she's a Democrat.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, what's wrong with this bill? Something's wrong with this bill. So I started calling all my right-wing Second Amendment buddies, and I'm like, hey, John Harris, what about this bill? He said, Mike, we've tried to pass this for years. We've never been able to get it passed. It's the craziest thing. Called other people. What's wrong with the bill? What's wrong with the bill? I said, there's nothing wrong with the bill. They said, but we just never get it passed. And so give God the glory for it. I heard Mark Brassfield with the Safe House. I heard his commercials on another radio show, and I called him. He said, man, they've done a terrible job running that bill. And I said, well, will you come up and testify? Testimonies are powerful.
Yes.
Especially as people of faith. And he said, well, it looks self-serving. I said, look, brother, let's face it. Most people up here are self-serving. Most of these people running up down these halls are there because some corporation literally bought them. They're paying them. They bought them. And they're lobbying to enlarge their territory, enlarge their profit margin or something. And so Mark Brassfield come up and gave up. And we prayed. We're in this office right here. And I said, you a believer? He goes, well, yeah. And I said, let's pray about this bill. we went in there, and what I did a little different spin on it. I said, let's do a pilot program for a year.
Mm-hmm.
You do a pilot program, you can kind of prime the pump, if you will,
and you can back out of it without losing much.
Yep, because people up, it's hard to get tax cuts. I mean, that's the third tax cut I've been able to pass, and I've thought about doing another one, and it's just that I think could attract some industry. We'll be looking at that next week with the tour with Trey Hargett.
Great.
And but see, that was a Democrat brought me that bill.
Mm-hmm.
And give God the glory for it. And what we did the next year, it was so successful that we made it permanent. But here's what's cool. Chris Todd, hardcore Republican, chairman of Ag, and Bob Freeman, whose dad was, Bill Freeman.
Right.
Which is sad. His dad took his own life last year.
Yeah. He ran for mayor of Nashville. Remember what he was
I didn't know him.
Mm-hmm. I met him maybe 25, 30 years ago when I was executive director of the Apartment Association of Orange County, California, and he was on the National Apartment Association Board of Directors, and we had a conference in Nashville, and I had the opportunity to meet, talk, even had dinner with him. Great man.
Well, it's sad. Bob had a mental health little thing up here, and I seen a note on the elevator, and I don't even know if we're allowed to put notes on elevators, but there was a note, and I texted our leadership. I said, you ought to go to Bob Freeman's mental health discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And the speaker showed up. Not to say I'm surprised, but he did. I said, you'd freak everybody out if you showed up. I mean,
yes.
kind of that. I wrote 3 books, and
sure.
The latest is called How to Do More with Less During Tough Times, and that was my book probably 10 years ago. Man, that dude ended up buying 50 of my books.
Wow.
And handed them out. I've never even bought 50 of my books and handed them out to people. And he just, but I think it was that little act of kindness that came back to bless me. But I appreciated Marcia. That was a great interview. She lost my district, and so did Trump.
Oh, I did not realize that. What's the registration?
Well, it's my district. It ain't some East Tennessee, big time pro Trump. I mean, there's people that like Trump, but there's some that don't. But we've redistricted, so it's a little better. But they come at me real hard. They spent $200,000 against me, called me all kinds of names,
wow,
and Mellors and stuff. But you know what, Dr. Krause, it's all good, man. What don't kill you makes you stronger. And it really is God's way of building character with us and building resilience is the battles you have to fight,
Let me ask you this, though, and I was just leading on the question when, thank goodness, you called, and I totally appreciate breaking away from either committee meetings or working in the gym or wherever in between. But I was raising the question with our public, number one, where are they getting most of their political information? Is the younger generation on stream, social media, and are they only reading one-sentence headlines and making opinions? Yep. Senior citizens, are they still focusing on traditional TV news? But then I was getting on the point, and having been in this world of politics for many, many years, I cannot remember any time in our history of so many different events and activities, programs and projects going on simultaneously. You take a look at the president's agenda, and every day there's something different. Every day there's something new. I've got to ask this one question. Do we have too much political news going on in so many different events that many people are becoming confused and they turn off? Hey, I can't keep up on 29 things going on. Yeah, I could focus on one thing, but Gaza in one moment and Ukraine in another, and meeting with the Chinese leader in another, and having a great victory in Japan in another, and so on and so on and so on, and taking out a few boats off Venezuela. I mean, how does the public stay, and this is just federal level, do you find the state level with so many things going on in Tennessee?
Yes, sir. Well, I went back to school to learn media and communication, and I tell you, speaking of trials and tribulations, I had an election, and they took and created propaganda. My opponents were able to leverage. I'll just be blunt. They were able to leverage Channel 5 and the media and create propaganda, true propaganda. And I was shocked. I thought, not in America does this happen. Like you think Germany during World War II or something. Not America. and here's where I got what I call confirmation. You know, I'd already had some communications classes, and I thought, you know, I'm just gonna go back and finish a second degree. And I had Dr. Larry Burris. You know, he's kind of the premier guy when it comes to the Constitution, First Amendment, and he inspired me. Not he wasn't like an encourager. I just liked his class, and I like wow, the First Amendment, man, this is so important to the cornerstone of our republic. And my professor Dan Eschenfelder and his wife ironically teaches ethics in journalism, Dr. Christine Eschenfelder. So I took his TV news class, and he sees what's going on in my primary. He just sees it in the news. And he knew a little bit about what I was already thinking. I was asking for transparency in government, transparency in education dollars. I was wanting to show what the school superintendent made compared to, you know, the lunch lady and school bus drivers and teachers. And, you know, sometimes these administrators, you know, get these bigger raises, like Dr. McPhee with a $56,000 pay raise. And then, you know, I took on the issue of low pay of adjuncts, and, you know, I interviewed you.
I remember.
Run the bill.
Thank you, and thank you for the bill.
Yeah. But they got a raise. I mean, the media's never going to come. Again, Phil Williams not going to do that story. But my professor, he says, man, what the media's doing to you is totally unethical. He said, I've never seen anything like this. And he's been in media for 25 years. And I took his wife's class, Ethics in Journalism and Ethics in Media. And but really, Dr. Krause, and it's like David in the Bible. If David wouldn't have fought a bear, and he wouldn't have fought a lion,
correct,
and God would have delivered him from the paws of the lion and the paws of the bear, he wouldn't have fought Goliath. So we think, why would such a good guy like David, who had his own problems, and Moses, who killed a man, who had his own problems, or Joseph, who had dreams but was probably a little cocky, a little arrogant, you know, to his brothers, how could God lock up a guy falsely in prison like Joseph?
Exactly.
But that's how he works. So he'll use all that stuff, and then it's like my election. That wasn't Mike Sparks' political acumen and your class I took that got me elected. That was faith, and that was the Lord. That was not me, because I was outgunned, out-resourced, fake news. That ain't counting the time the governor come against me, because I called out white-collar corruption, the JLL contract. I'll call it out again today. They recommended tearing down this building I'm sitting in, this whole building.
I remember that.
The media doesn't tell you that.
Nope.
Because when these people have huge corporate money, they're the largest real estate company in America, the media bows down to them. Because a lot of times the media is paying for advertising, and the media, these lobbyists are slick people, man.
Well, you also got to remember, and I'm just right in the process of media discussion in my American government classes as we speak this week. And the question is, the media is a privately owned corporation, except for PBS. And they are out to get the highest ratings, no matter what it takes, in order to get the highest advertising rate and the highest number of advertisers in order to make the bottom line the best for its stockholders. Just like any...
I'll email. Oh, you're okay, Dr. Krause.
Oh, okay. I thought I had a question from the boundaries.
My assistant to email my county commissioners about my school bus legislation. I've got it going to steering, trying to drop the age from 25 to 23.
On driving, you mean?
Yeah, we have a crisis. We're the most restrictive to drive a school bus in the world. People don't realize that. But I don't have no lobbyists. I mean, if I had one of those taxpayer-funded lobbyists they're paying big money to, hey, Representative Hicks, if I had one of those big lobbyists, I could probably got that bill passed. I passed it on my side in the Senate.
It would appear, having both Jimmy Sullivan and the school director for Murfreesboro City Schools, Trey, one of the concerns they always express when they're visiting us on the Roundtable is that they have a heck of a time filling bus driver positions.
Yes.
And you would think that the leadership of the various school districts throughout the state would be your greatest supporter. If we can expand the pool of potential applicants, let's do it. Now, I don't know, on a question of your bill, though, now I'm going to almost sound like an opposition. If you reduce the age by 2 years for being able to qualify, What does that do to the overall vehicle insurance rates for the school district for buses and bus drivers? Does it affect it?
Under my bill, and that's been a concern and to a few people. But 49 other states are already have it at 23 or even 21, so they're getting by. I know insurance is an issue. I mean, that's all across the board. That's homeowners, cars, whatever. Especially with some of the natural disasters we've had, hurricanes, tornadoes, and whatnot. But it gives the school board it's a permissive bill that allows them. If Hancock County or Hamilton County, see, that's where that crash occurred. And here's what people need to realize: that young man, that 24-year-old that killed those kids, was driving recklessly, had multiple complaints from parents and students, and he was a child rapist. This is the media will never tell you this, Dr. Krause. Now, he raped a 14-year-old girl. He raped a 14-year-old girl after that collision. Now, it wasn't before. But like I had a commissioner kind of take issue, like, what does rape have to do with the age of a school bus driver? So it's called character.
Yes.
It's character.
Exactly.
And that's why we need to instill character, because our prisons are full. The county's got to build a new jail. You know what it's going to cost?
I don't even want to imagine.
$600 million is what someone said. One said $400 to $500 million. That $400, $500 million. That means you're not going to build schools.
No, and take a look at.
Taxpayers need to start giving a shit about this kind of stuff.
Hold it.
I'm sorry about that, but it's going to continue.
Beep.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Brian. Sorry, Bart.
No problem. Mike, I got to go now. We're about end of the round table. Thank you for adding in to Senator Blackburn. It shows you the men and women who are dedicated, devoted, and practicing public service. You are certainly one of them. Keep up the great work, my friend, and we will see all of I guess we can see, and have our radio roundtable on for you next Thursday morning. Goodbye.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
Well, yeah, I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.